What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first comment was, oh good, it's Friday Junior.
It's Friday, Junior. It's podcast day. It's payday.
And when you come out, do it like doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raff. We're always start the podcast because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Kyle, a.k.a. the BeerBuddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. Your second of it, dude. Fantastic.
How you doing, all you amazing people? I am the Reverend Raff. This here is the BeerBuddy Kyle. We are the two dudes who talk music, and it is Thursday, which means it is time for another podcast episode. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on your platform of choice, thank you very, very much for joining us today. In case you are wondering, obviously we've done a lot of coverage of Metal to the Max over the last while. That event at the time of this episode coming out, that event was last weekend. You may be wondering, why aren't we covering that? Simple answer. There's going to be a lot of stuff for us to get through. It's going to take us a couple of weeks to unpack all the footage and go through everything and cut a whole bunch of things together. We assure you the coverage from Metal to the Max is coming. But for today, we've got a very special one. But before we get there, mate, how you doing?
I'm good.
How you doing, bud? Good for the most part,
I'm good.
except for a little fender bender, but
Oh, well, look, my neighbour was so shitty. My neighbour's so stupid, he ran into a parked car. Just so happened to be mine. But, these things happen. We get through. The car still works.
No one was hurt.
That's the main thing. No one was hurt. It was 12:30 at night. If anyone was hurt, far out.
That's a different story, but at least, no one was hurt. Things can be replaced.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
It.
People can't.
That's it.
So,
that's it. It's just a little repair or a new car, one of the two. Find it from the insurance company.
We'll work it out. Yeah, let the insurance company deal with it.
Are you going, my friend?
Mate, I'm pretty good. Went out to the Scene Queen tour this past weekend.
Yeah, dude.
That was amazing. It was a lot of fun. The show was incredible. Just really, really fun. Yeah. Was good. Was good vibes.
She controlled the crowd well. And
yes, everyone was
good.
Everyone was there right into it, and the support bands were killer as well. I don't have anything. I don't know what's one of the things. But no, it was good. It was really, really good. Handed out a couple of business cards, for stuff, So those
did you do what I said and try and flick one at her?
No, I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be too good at it and nail her in the eye or something.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be my luck. You do it that one time, it actually comes out your fingers properly and boom, blind.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing my luck, that's exactly what had happened. Either that or it would go completely sideways and hit, poke someone in the crowd in the eye. And
hit
then
a 6'5" bubba dude.
And then there's it's got our phone numbers and our email on it. That they don't need to have that for insurance or anything. It's
forgot about that.
That's exactly. So we don't need that. But no, look, we're excited. We are no doubt at this point in real time when this is released, we are no doubt absolutely exhausted. But
working
through all the footage, working to bring you guys that episode. So it is coming. We are super excited about it. But today we are revisiting someone that we've had on the podcast before. Now, if you have been following us since last year, you will be aware that while Raff, myself, I don't know why I referred to myself in the third person there.
Yeah, that was
weird. I do it on social media.
It is early. It's early. It's early.
Fucking early for us because we had to be up early because of the time difference for this one.
Yeah.
Because last time I interviewed this guest, I was in America. So we were on very similar time zones. But now, not so much. So I am, of course, talking about Magdalene Rose, formerly of the band Gold, Frankincense and Myrrh. Last time we spoke, she was preparing to kick off her solo career. She had a song that was about to drop, and she was going to be heading out on the road to start promoting that and doing all of the fun stuff that goes with it. Now, since then, she has released a bunch more music, multiple singles, an EP, doing all kinds of cool stuff. Lots of life updates as well. But they've been out there on the road killing it. They have a brand new song that at the time of recording has just come out. At the time of release, it's been out for a few weeks, called Teeth Eater. It focuses on, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, things like that. So there is a little bit of discussion around those topics in the podcast today, just a heads up if that's something that you're a little sensitive about. But yeah, we are super, super excited to get into this one with Magdalene Rose. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the podcast once again, Magdalene Rose. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Up nice and early for this one.
Got my iced coffee.
You're out on tour at the moment, right?
I am, yeah.
That's amazing. How's that all going?
It's good. We had a pretty strenuous schedule, but the last few weeks of tour, it's 1 or 2 shows, and then we have the rest of the week off. So we've been enjoying our time off after a very much show schedule.
Yeah, that's nice to get a bit of a break like that when you're in the middle of it. So who are you touring with? A couple of specific bands at the moment, or is it just a bunch of different ones? What's that lineup looking like?
Yeah, so right now I'm on tour with a band called Seventh Day Slumber. And we've been hitting a lot of the festivals for summer and just getting a lot of recovery group shows that are awesome to do. So just been really, really dialing in with Seventh Day Slumber. And then in October, I'm actually going on tour with Disciple and Seventh Day Slumber. So don't get too much of a break, but we kind of enjoy it that way because we stay busy then.
Yeah, no, I remember those guys because I think the first time we spoke, I reached out because GFM was going to be on the Fozzy show. Obviously, that kind of didn't end up happening because you kind of they wanted to step back. You wanted to go in your solo stuff. But I do remember Seventh Day Slumber playing that show, and I was quite impressed with those boys. So they were doing a really, really good job. That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, look, when we spoke last time, you were sort of preparing to launch into the solo career, I guess. You were getting ready to start releasing stuff and stepping out into that world. How has that sort of first 18 months of that been for you? I mean, I know you've released a bit of, you've released a few singles and an EP there. How have you found the response to that, and how has it felt being out there, on the road with a different crew, kind of being the front woman of the group there and handling all of that?
It's honestly been kind of all over the place because at first it was super difficult, just emotionally. And there was kind of a grieving process to it. And I was having to learn how to travel without my family and just lots of learning and a lot of just kind of adjusting and figuring out how to do music in a new way. But once I kind of adjusted to it, it's been just really awesome. And every release seems to be bigger and better. And people are just falling in love with the music. And I'm learning how to express myself as a person and not just be a band member. Now I kind of don't have a choice but to be an individual. And so once I learned how to do that, it's been awesome learning myself too. And people are getting to know me as just me. And it's been cool just to hear people's stories and hear how my stories are resonating with people. And, it's just a lot of change, but a lot of good has come out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I definitely remember when we spoke last time, you were telling me obviously touring with your sisters and you guys started quite young. So, you're a music industry vet at this point, despite being younger than most people that are just starting out, right? And yeah, it must have been, being always around with your sisters and your family, sort of who were helping with running things and managing you guys and coordinating everything, to now being out and sort of striking out on your own. And when I say on your own, I'm sure you've obviously got a bit of a network that's around and helping you, but that must have been that change. drastic. It's a drastic change, and it sounds like you're really, you know, coming into your own and like discovering a lot of what you're capable of in this new with this new setup, you know, which is amazing.
I've got to ask,
it's been crazy just to see the change.
What's it kind of like now, I guess, because in the last, when Raff interviewed you on your own, you said obviously you'd been touring for so long with your family. Did it sort of keep you in check a little bit touring with them, and now that you're not touring with them, you can sort of get up to a bit more mischief and muck around a bit more or whatever? And like, is it that kind of deal, or is it more so the safety net of just sort of that familiarity of family and stuff like that?
I feel like it's a little bit of both, because now thankfully I don't have to tour with strangers, because that was like the biggest fear of mine. Like, I don't know how to like travel with people that I've never met before. But my husband, he's in Seventh Day Slumber, and so they just automatically were like, welcomed me in, and they definitely live life a little bit more on the edge than I am. I feel like I'm such a scaredy cat, even with just like normal stuff. And so they have helped me just break out of my shell. And like, even when we play games online, like I was scared to talk to people online that I didn't know. And they're like, why are you scared of that? Like, let's just like go roast people online. And like, so it's like stuff that doesn't seem like a big deal to people. That's like, oh, that's not crazy at all. I'm like, oh my word, I'm living life on the edge right now. I am so rebellious. But it's like stuff that's so simple. But so I feel like I am like branching out a little bit for sure. And my husband Blaze, his dad actually started tattooing again. He took like 11 years off of it, but he picked it back up because we wanted him to tattoo our ring fingers at our wedding. And he's teaching me how to tattoo. And so now I'm tattooing people, which has been awesome, because like I never saw myself as this crazy artist, but I definitely did like the drawing aspect of it. And so now with tattoos, it's like, oh, you're just like coloring in the lines. It's super easy. And like, there's obviously a lot more that goes into it. But every time I tattoo someone, I'm like, I'm kind of a professional now. Like, I can do this. And then like the next person asks me, I'm like, I'm scared. I can't do that anymore. I give up.
Well, I think you could, especially you can skip a step, right? Like if a fan wants you to sign their arm and then they're going to go and get it tattooed, you can just straight up like
cut out the middleman.
Get it. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it's a great podcast idea. While you're doing the tattoos, you can just interview the people at the same time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's great. And hey, look, you know, if you ever decide that you're done with music, like that's another career path you can pursue right there, you know?
That's it.
Yeah.
Get an extra scratch on the side on the tour bus and at the shows. You want a quick tattoo before you go on stage? Whack.
Yeah.
Get the adrenaline pumping.
For sure.
Exactly. Get a bit of that, bit of the old buzz. Now, your latest song, Teeth Eater, has, at the time of recording, only just recently come out. By the time this episode drops, it will have been out for, you know, a few weeks at that point. How's the response been to that one? How have you, because I was reading on one of your posts online, it's you know, deals with like eating disorders, body dysmorphia, that kind of stuff, which, I mean, you know, being a person in entertainment is you know, I mean, it's horrible regardless, but it's just so rampant in the entertainment industry, especially for a lot of women.
Imagine being in K-pop.
Right?
Yeah.
How's the response been from the fans, and how are you feeling now that song's out there? How's that been for you?
It's honestly like been such a relief to have it out, because I feel like there's so much build up to the release. So it's like, okay, we have to film all this stuff and post all this, and like you have to go so hardcore in the promotion. And so now it's like, okay, it's out. Like, what's done is done. If people don't like it, oh well, it's out. Like, I don't have to like. Obviously, I'm still talking about it, but I don't have to like sell people like, hey, go pre-save my song. It's like, well, no, I just released a new song. Do you like it or what? Like,
it's been out.
Yeah, it's out now, and it's awesome to see just people's responses to it, because we have gotten everybody who hears it loves it, and it's sad to hear so many people's stories are connecting with it, but it's awesome to see that they know that they're not alone now, and just to hear people's stories of recovery. And I've talked to so many men and women who are saying like they never felt like they had a voice to speak about this because they didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable, but now they can share their story online. And we started something similar to Project Semicolon, where how people get the semicolons tattooed if they struggle with suicide, so they would know their story's not over. And I thought, how cool would it be to do something for people who struggle with eating disorders or body dysmorphia or some sort of body image issue, because a lot of times it is a very isolating thing to struggle with. And so I was like, well, why don't we just tattoo little teeth on us to say, like, hey, I've been there, like, I've overcome it. If somebody who gets it hasn't, like, they're currently in it or they're currently recovering, and it helps people feel less alone and lets people know that there are other people who have struggled with this too and who have overcome, and they can overcome too. And recovery is possible, and it doesn't have to feel like such an isolated thing anymore. And it's just been awesome to see people want to be part of that and want to push that. And there's also a saxophone solo, and people are loving that. So that's been awesome.
Yeah. We're big fans of a good sax solo in metal over here. We are.
Are you a fan of Red Hook?
I don't know a ton.
I think you should check them out. I think you did go on a bit of a deep dive there, because they don't mind a bit of a sax solo every now and then. Yeah, they're very cool.
They're an Aussie band, and they've just been absolutely shredding it. Like, kicking ass and taking names all across the country. Like, they got some really good stuff. Really good stuff.
I thoroughly enjoy.
So, I was going back through and sort of checking out the releases, because look, I mean, I kept up with a few of the singles there, but I hadn't sort of gone through and listened to everything, since everything. But I did go back through there, and I'm like checking out the EP, and I got to say, like, there's a bit of variety in that, in what you've been releasing. Like, some of it's a bit heavier, some of it's a bit more in like almost the sort of the emo, like pop punk sort of space. Do
you like Dance Gavin Dance by any chance?
I do like some of their songs, and the guy who wrote guitars with us, that was like his favorite band, and so that inspired a lot of our riffs.
I knew it. I could tell, because I'm a massive fan too.
Really?
Yeah, and I was wanting to say, like, guerrilla warfare for me, like, being such a metalhead into the real, like, extreme realm of stuff. Like, guerrilla warfare goes so hard. Like, everything's great, and there's kind of something for everyone in there. But like, guerrilla warfare just is like, it just monster of a track. It really
bounces too, because I was like, if we're gonna write a heavy, like, hardcore type song, I want it to bounce. And so, like, it's so funny, people who don't listen to heavy music at all are like, why do I like this song? And it's like, because it bounces and it's catchy, even though it's screaming.
That's what I knew. You almost sit in this, it's like a melting pot of all these sick genres. It's like the best bits, like the emo, the best bits of thrash, the best bits of hardcore, the best bits of it's just awesome. And like, there's some mad punk drum beats in there to really, really speed it up and just thicken it out. It's metal made for metalheads. You will find something in there that you will like in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I love the variety, and the not like no rules approach necessarily, but like the fact that you're not letting yourself be constrained by, okay, this is the sound, like, so we've got to, like an obvious comparison, is something like Paramore. There's obviously elements of that sort of energy in some of the stuff, but you're not going, hey, like, we have to stay in this sound. We can branch out and do, we can do a bigger, heavier song. We can do something that's a little bit more like, a little bit more on the emo side, or a little bit more on the, just different energies in the different songs, which is amazing, and it's, I'm loving that there's so much variety in there already. And I mean, are you like, what have the crowds been like on the tours? And, like all the, is it pumping people up? Are they getting really, really into it?
Yeah, it's always so exciting, because we kind of changed up our set list like every couple tours. And just every time, like, any sort of scream happens, it normally takes everybody by surprise, but then you can tell, like, they go from shock to like, oh, I kind of like this. And then by the end, everybody is dancing or jumping or something. And I think having the variety of the songs really helps with that, because it not only helps, like, everybody has at least one song that they like, but it keeps the show like very energetic. And it's like, okay, yeah, we can do the really heavy scream thing, but like we're going to be jumping the next song and everybody better be dancing. And if not, you're getting kicked out of the show. Like, and so it's just been awesome. And like the kids that love it are so cool. And like there's a lot of little girls who say that I look like Wednesday Addams. And so they just like me because of that. And so like, it's like, so cool to see this whole like younger generation be super excited, and they're like, I'm going to tell all my friends about this. I'm like, please, because that is how I stay relevant. Like,
Yeah.
Do exactly that.
So have there been
like their parents like it too, and so it's just like a whole crowd favorite thing, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So there's been some, quite a few sort of all ages shows on the tour. That's something we talk about a lot. Is like,
we really miss
it's kind of vanished over here. Like there's a lot of, there used to be there's a lot of areas over here have what's called a PCYC. It's like a police youth center type thing, a community center, whatever. And like when we were growing up, there would constantly be like rock and metal gigs and hip hop and rap shows or whatever. Like they would be all putting on these all ages or these under 18s shows, so the kids had somewhere to go that was safe and they could, not be out like running around getting involved with people that they shouldn't be. And it feels like a lot of that's disappeared, but it was a great entry point for a lot of bands to cut their teeth and get some experience when they were coming up and they were a bit younger. But then also you would get sort of the top couple of bands would be bands that are out already doing it, right? They're over 18, they're out doing it. And it's like when you're exposed, when you're able to reach that kind of an audience, like you get someone a fan when they're a kid, they'll be a fan for life.
Yeah. And it's awesome, like, to be able to grow up with these kids too, because I started it when I was like 11. Like we were playing shows when I was 11. But even now, like I'm 23, and so like I can be the older sister to all these kids, and I'm still like, they're not like, oh, you're like a weird adult. Or like if they ask me how old I am, I'm like, I don't know if I should tell you, because I don't know if you're going to say I'm weird or not. Like, I'm kind of at that age where I don't know if they're going to think I'm old yet or not.
Coming from the weird adults, it is awkward.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. But it's great. Like, and I love that you're inspiring people that way, and they can, like I have to imagine like when they meet you, they're just like bowled over by how warm and friendly and open that you are, which is not always easy to be when you're on tour, right? Like it's not easy to be in that headspace when you're out and you haven't got sleep properly and you're out there doing, you got it. You look at it and you're like, right, I've got 300 miles. We've got to drive to the next place. I've had 4 hours sleep. I'm exhausted from the night before still. I'm already tired for tomorrow, and I've got to do a show tonight, and I've got to try and get a nap in and all of this stuff. And, being able to be, like friendly and open to fans that want to talk to you and approach you after the show it's so important, and it builds that relationship, especially with younger fans. Because if if younger fans are at a show and they see someone being like a pretentious rock star and they're like, oh no, I don't have time to talk to you, like what do you think? Yeah. It gives them this idea that that's what everyone in a band is like, and they if then they go in and do music, they might feel that that's how they have to behave, or it might give them, it just perpetuates this cycle of people just, behaving in really, like really poor ways and just not conducting themselves very well. But if that, conversely, if they're, seeing that and they're like, oh, wow, like she was really like intense and up on stage and like, depending on how old they are, maybe a little bit like frightening at times where they're like not sure about the thing. And then they get, then they meet you and it's like, oh no, like it's on stage because it's part of the music and the show. And then you're friend, like I said, you're just smiling, happy, friendly, like we're happy to talk to them and, hear their stories and share your experience with them. It's that's inspiring for them, and that can make them want to go in and do music. And then down the road when they're doing it, they will hopefully be the same for the next person and then in someone else and other people. And it just, perpetuates a more positive cycle,
Yeah. And that's the hope that I'm always able to try and reach. Just because I know what it's like to feel left out and to feel like people are weird or mean to you. And so I never want to be that person. And I want, with my music, but also just me as a person coming to the table, I want to give everybody like the time of day. And, even if they're just talking to me about like Fortnite or this new TikTok trend they found, it's like, okay, well, I want to listen to you because I want you to know that you have a voice. And, I don't know what your home life is like. I don't know how your friends treat you. And so if I'm the only person who's ever been nice to you, like I want to be able to give you some sort of motivation to feel like you belong somewhere and like you have a purpose for being here. And, I don't ever want to be the reason that people spiral even more. And I feel like a lot of times, with band stuff, like sometimes people can get big heads and so they stop caring about that. But, at the end of the day, like we're all people. And so we have to, even kids deserve like respect in the time of day. And, they might not be talking about the most intelligent things, but like they're kids. So like we can't take it that seriously and just, give them a chance to express themselves and to talk and just to kind of figure out who they are. And if you can come alongside them and like help in any way, that like it's awesome and fulfilling to just watch these kids grow up and become successful and, find themselves and watch them help other people. And, if you weren't a part of that positive cycle, like you were saying, like that could just totally be washed away, like just destroying people's lives and personalities because of one bad experience. And I never want to ever do that.
Well, that's why that whole saying goes, never meet your heroes, because it can end up like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I guess for you, since you've been in the game for so long, the whole touring life and the shows and stuff like that, it's just like, it's a Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? It's just any other day, but those interactions with the fans, I guess, coming up and starting from zero and really working on your career and being committed to it, those interactions mean so much more than what the actual show does, I guess. The show is like it's like a pathway into it's like an interaction, a pathway into more interactions with the fan on the back end, and to be humble on the back end.
Yeah. And like some of these kids or even adults, they are counting down the days till they get to go to the concert. And like, it is like this huge deal to them. And so, if I were to go like in with the mindset of like, oh, I can't wait to just be done with this. And like it completely crushes them. And I think that's so like bad. Like I never want to crush anybody like that. And so it's like, no, I have to, no matter what is going on in my personal life, no matter how like I'm feeling, I have to give my all to these people for as long as I can. And, sometimes there's days where like you are physically sick and you can only come out for a certain amount of time, but I make sure that I come out for as long as possible. Sometimes to my detriment, sometimes my husband has to come and be like, you are not feeling good. Like you do need to go rest now. Like you've done enough. But I always want to make sure that I'm out as long as I can, because I know that this stuff means the world to people. I just want to speak life into them and, give them an opportunity to just have their dreams come true. Even if it's meeting a small artist like me, I want them to fulfill things like that.
That's it. I mean, it's super important for, like I said, if small artists, that's the sort of stuff that will build you a fan base for life. And those are the people that are going to come back and drag their friends along next time. And, maybe they didn't know anyone else that was going to the show, but through like their shared enjoyment of the show, they've like met new people and they do, but like next time you come to their town, they're going to drag like 2 or 3 of their friends along. And then all of a sudden, if everyone does that, all of a sudden your crowds are 2 to 3 times bigger and, you're selling more tickets and everything. Like I remember, last time we spoke, I think, we kind of mentioned Scene Queen, and like she's doing lots of cool stuff. She's actually just toured out here this past week.
Saw that.
And I was fortunate enough to catch the Brisbane show the other night and like, packed house, like completely sold out. Everyone loves like the safe space that she's created for people who are, you know, maybe not always the most welcomed within the metal community. Was you know, was incredible. And you know, on stage she's like, you know, she was very grateful and you know, humble about the fact she's like so early in her career she's able to come down to Australia. She rattled off, she's like, look, while I've been over here, I just want to let you guys know, like, this is a bunch of stuff that's happened while I've been here, but I'm still happy that I'm here. You know, and it's just so that, like, it's the struggles of being an artist on tour, right? Like, stuff always goes wrong at the worst possible moment. You know, flights are delayed on the worst possible time. Like, it's all kinds of stuff. And she's like, you know, so that's it. I get it. Like, you know, I get it. When you're, you know, regardless of what you've got going on there, you want to give as much of yourself as you can to the fans, because that's your future. You know what I mean? Like, that's your future there. And if you're not providing that, you know, it's going to take a lot longer to get any traction and all this kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, you're, like we said, you've been out there already, you're 23 and you've been out there doing this for 12 years already, which is like, I can't fathom that. Like, the experience and the life experience that's got to bring. And, you know, well, yes, okay, there's probably a, you know, bunch of stuff that maybe you might have not experienced by not, you know, by living a very different life to a lot of other people. At the same time, it allows you to be fully prepared for that career that you've got going forward, and that wanting to be on that life on the road, and, you know, and bringing that, what that takes. Because, you know, I guess if you grew up in it, it's just normal. It's just what you do, right? Whereas if it's someone that was 23 in their first band trying to go out on tour like that, and
it's
for the
a
first
culture
time,
shock for sure.
Never left your city in your life in 23 years, and then you're going on a world tour or even a national tour. It's just like, oh, I'm taking my pillow.
Yeah.
So at least.
So what? How many have you, with the tours that you've been doing? Have you hit, you know, all the mainland states yet? Is there some you still got to get to? Is there some you're really looking forward to? Like, where's that taking you guys?
Few that, like, I need to hit. Australia, not Australia. I don't know why I said. We were talking about Australia, not Australia. Anyway. I would love to come to Australia. That's like one of my main goals. But Alaska and Hawaii are two of the last ones, and then I think like maybe Vermont, like one of the little ones up north, and maybe Utah. Like, I think I have like 4 or 5 left.
That's crazy that you've managed to cover so many already, though. Like, it's wild, because like I mean, look, Australia and America physically are roughly the same size, but it still boggles the mind. Like, you know, compared to how Australia operates, like, different states in the US feel like different countries from one another almost at times. Like, there's a lot of, you know, there's quite a bit of cultural difference from place to place. There's the terrain and the you know, the environments are so different between one another. It really does feel like, I mean, at least for me, not growing up over there, you know, not living over there and things. It's like, when I've been on holiday there and gone to different regions, it really does feel like a completely different country, you know. Whereas here, a lot of the time, it's like, you know, you go from Sydney to Brisbane, it's a city, you know, it's a city, it's what it is, like, or, you know, it's a slightly different looking city. Whereas,
and then if you're going where we're going heading into the desert. Once you go past the point, it's just red.
Yeah,
just red desert. I mean, to be fair, we're driving 13 hours in one direction, and we're going to be in the same state still.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hectic. It's coming up. It's this big metal festival at so it's called Metal to the Max, and someone basically, because a lot of the Mad Max films were shot out in, you know, the desert in Australia.
Oh,
right?
Really?
So there's a fan of the old Mad Max movies came out here, and, you know, spending all their own money, they built this replica of the compound from the Mad Max 2 film.
Oh my goodness.
It's been a tourist attraction out there. There's a Mad Max museum out there and everything. And some absolute mad lads have decided, hey, what if we did a heavy metal festival out here? So there's, 30 bands from all across Australia, and fans from, all over the place are converging on this little town. And it's, it's as close to the middle of nowhere as you can realistically get, right? And it's like 3 nights of camping, 2 days of bands, and yeah, it's wild. But yes, as Kyle said, I'm flying down from Brisbane the day before, and then we're spending 13 hours driving west,
and not leaving the state.
We'll still be in the same state. So yeah, pretty big states. I like to break out that comparison when people want to talk about how big Texas is. I'll be like, yeah, Texas is cool, like it's big, all right, but like I think in Western Australia there's like a cattle station that's bigger than Texas or something. It's like,
oh my goodness,
it's crazy. Like the we just big country, not as many, not divided up as much into small things, But absolutely,
just
like
long
you should
distance in between everything.
You like I think if you
Hey, get your name on
guys
for
would have
next
come to
year.
Australia and everything, like in the, if you organize something with you and the Seventh Day Slumber guys, like I'm sure you guys would have a blast over here.
We could even tee up with a couple of Aussie bands that might be good to.
Yeah, we could probably make some recommendations if you wanted that too, because it's I think even though, and look, we've spoken about this last time as well. Like even though obviously, you're quite a religious person, but that's not. And while there is elements of that, I guess, that come through in the music, it's not like what people would consider to be preachy, and it's not sort of pushing anything like that. It's like you're out here trying to make good inspirational music for people. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. You're not trying to preach or convert people or anything like that, which I think is like that's such a cool way to approach it. And if through conversations with fans outside of that, the topic comes up or whatever, like that's a different thing. But you're using your gift to inspire people, and I'm always going to be in support of that, regardless of anything else. And I think it would, so you wouldn't be sort of locked into having to tour with like Christian bands over here, right? Like you could just pick some good bands, and you'll be out. Really you'll be bowling out here. You'll be playing hundreds of people every night. It'd be absolutely. You guys would have the time of your lives out here. So yeah, I would love to see that happen. And if it ever does happen, we'll gladly get you guys on to talk about it and promote it. And we'll absolutely be out there at the shows because I reckon it'd be awesome to see a Magdalene Rose show live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the fun thing too, because it's like we get to play double the shows since we do the crossover thing. We get to play at churches, and like sometimes churches don't like me. Like we don't always get to play churches, but we also get to play just regular rock shows too. And we're honest and like open about who we are and that we believe in God. But like you said, we're not going to shove it down people's throats because we just don't think that's cool. Like, and so it is this kind of, we want to give people a message of hope. And it lets us play double the shows too. So that's pretty cool.
More show opportunities is always good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that stigma's gone now anyway. I think you'd be surprised how many bands or band members are religious now. I think that I interviewed one on the start of my podcasting career before Two Dudes, and it was just we were having conversations like, what are you trying to like? What do you hold sort of most close with your music and stuff like that? And he just was like, I hold my religion, my closeness to God. That's how I try and use my music. It sort of caught me off guard because metalheads don't normally say stuff like that really anymore because normally it's just like and I was just like, okay. Like, and it was so, I guess it was refreshing because that wall's being broken, because I guess this whole idea of Christian metal or religious metal or whatever it is, it's just metal now. And if it just has that message, it has that message. And
I mean, the irony is that what many people consider to be the original heavy metal band Black Sabbath were, despite what all the satanic panic and paranoia was at the time around this devil music, they had ultimately a lot of their songs had a Christian message or like in behind it, It's just the way it was presented. People were not looking beyond how it sounded and certain specific lines in things. So
they were doing it ironically.
Yeah,
they were the first ones to really do so.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, people. I think metal, for the most part, is not as dangerous as it used to be. It's not viewed in the same light. Like, yes, there's always going to be ignorant people that don't understand it, right? Like, just like there's people who are always going to say, like, oh, all these rappers are like gangbangers and blah 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 and that stuff. It's like, no, like we're playing metal music because we enjoy it, because we get some catharsis out of it, because we find it fun, and it's a creative outlet for us. That's what it is. Is there lots of references to certain things? Yes, it's just because that's what's part of the music, right? Like, just like in country, there's lots of references to people's dogs and trucks and farms and tractors, right? Like, because that's just a part of the music, right? Like, it's, so I'm just, and like, obviously, yes, there's what we would consider to be Christian metal bands that are out that are putting a lot of that, they're being, they're sort of preaching through their music and putting a lot of that message very directly in their music. I mean, like, I'm just trying to think.
POD done
is it like, I feel like, the Seventh Day Slumber Guys, I feel, do a little bit more of that. Who else did I see at the Fozzy show? The Nocturnal Affair as well was a killer band on that show. Like they so it's like it does happen out there, obviously, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's just what they're doing. They're putting their message out there. That's how they're trying to do their thing.
Music, they can do what they want.
Hey, Kyle, your audio levels, by the way, are quite quiet. Can I just get?
Is that better?
That's a little bit better. Yeah, thank
you. There we go. My mic. I noticed, just looked in the thing, and I noticed my mic just went. Ooh.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, I mean, what? Obviously, like I said, out there touring at the moment. You've kind of got some more shows coming up, doing a lot of touring in sort of through October and the rest of the year there. What's kind of beyond that? Like, we're approaching towards the end of 2024. There's a few months left at the time that this releases. What's sort of, is there much else lined up for the rest of the year? And is there any plans that you can talk about for going into next year that you might want people to be aware of?
So it's wild that 2024 is already almost over. Like, it feels like always the beginning of the year, we're like, wow, this year is so slow. And then you wake up and it's already September. You're like, I take it back. Like, but we for sure have more music on the way. An album is completely done. Ooh. We have to get some songs still like mixed and mastered, but the entire project is written, recorded. And I know the label wants to drop another single before we release everything. And so a single is on the way at some point. And then we're looking to maybe book some stuff in December, but because of how much touring we've done this year, we also don't know if maybe it would be better just to take a month off and just
have Christmas off.
Yeah. And then like just start hardcore in January, just tour like nonstop again. So still trying to like figure that out, but we definitely want to just capitalize on all the new music that we've had and tour on that. And then just, in 2025, just meet a ton of new people. We're going to try and hit the festival circuit really hard and just kind of like help Magdalene Rose branch out on its own a little bit, because I've been touring with Seventh Day Slumber for so long. They want to kind of push me out of the nest a little bit and say like, okay, well, let's try and do a tour on your own. And I'm like, I'm scared. But might do like some shorter runs and see like how I can stand on my own type thing. But yeah, there's a lot of music, a lot of shows that are hopefully gonna work out and be scheduled. But yeah, we're excited. It is super cool because we had part of this year was kind of a bummer. Our original guitar player stepped down, and he felt like he was just being called to go back home. and he hadn't seen his family in like 5 years. And so he needed to just step away from touring for a little bit.
That's understandable.
And so we were just like in a very like
Excuse me for a second.
imbalanced area where it's like, okay, well, we have to test out these guitar players, but I don't know if this person's the right fit. And like, now what are we going to do? And like, we don't have members anymore. And I think we have found some guys that are hopefully going to be long-term people. We're kind of still in the process of like fully auditioning them, but they've been on this past tour with us for like almost a month now. And they seem very excited and they mesh really well with the group. So now that we're getting our like members back, it's easier to plan stuff too, where it's like, okay, well now we can book shows because we know we've got a guitar player. We couldn't do that before. So we're kind of back in a place where we're motivated again because we're not like bummed out that our guitar player stepped down.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going back uphill now.
Yeah. That's all right.
That's amazing. That's so good. And I mean, look, I probably should have asked this sooner there. How is CJ and Lulu doing? Like, how's the rest of the family doing? Are they all good?
Yeah, they're doing good. CJ has started her own project called Morning Eve, which is cool. It's more of it leans more into like the metalcore / hardcore side of things. So they've played, I want to say 3 shows now.
Okay. Okay.
Is that, and they're in the middle of writing music.
The Noise, is that one of their?
Yeah,
cool.
That was their first song.
I'll go and give them a subscribe. Get on board with that.
Yeah, so we're excited to just like support her in that. She's trying to like find her voice in music on her own. So that's been cool. And Lou is streaming a lot, which is awesome just to see her like kind of growing her streaming platform and hopefully make a living off of it, because I know she really wanted to do that. And so
gaming or IRL? Does she do gaming or IRL?
She does a little bit of both. So she's really big into gaming, but she's learning now that her body has limits. And so she's like, let me just do one where I just hang out with people, or like we're going to go to some restaurant because I don't have it in me to play today. I've exhausted my brain. So it's cool to see just everyone figuring out how to express themselves individually, because I think because we grew up doing this band for so long together, so young, we never really learned who we were outside of that. And so it's just been cool. And since I tour so much, we don't get to see each other very often. And so a lot of times I'm just watching them on social media too, and like checking up with them through text. And so it's like I get to be the fan as well. And it's like I've never had this experience with my sisters before. Like I get to cheer them on social media. That's cool. Like I didn't ever have that before. And so it's been awesome to just kind of have a new avenue in our relationship where it's not like we're supporting each other because we work together. It's like, no, I'm supporting you because I like what you're doing and I think it's cool, and it's not tied to anything I'm doing.
That's amazing. And it's great that, you know, they're out there kind of, like you say, discovering their own paths and doing their own thing now, you know, because it's, like it's important to sort of get that as you go out into the world, right? Like you need to find, it's great to be part of a group and have that support there, obviously, but it's really like yours journey is very much like a life metaphor in a lot of ways, you know, like you've got, you know, when you're growing up, you're doing a lot of stuff as a group, as a family together. And then now that you've kind of all, you know, going into your 20s and into your, you know, adulthood as that's going forward, it's, you know, discovering who you are on your own and what you stand for and what you want to get out of the world and how best to do that. Right. It's just, it's it's amazing. And I'm absolutely, I'm going to check out Morning Eve for sure. For anyone wondering, it's spelled MOUR, not MORN, like morning,
like,
morning as
like
in
the
crying morning. Yes. Yes.
And what's your other sister's streaming name?
Her tag is Ludowisi, so it's like like her cowboy name.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, yes, shout out to CJ and Lulu. Go and check out what they're doing as well, because
well, cowboy name. How do you get your cowboy name? I know how you get your corn star name.
Yeah, so we our family we're all from Florida, but we also have family that live in like backwoods Georgia. And so like on summer vacations, any type of family vacation, we just all hung out in the woods. And so like while we have this like very like gothic metal, like I'm a hardcore person, like we all grew up super redneck and country, and like that was just kind of a nickname we called her. And so she's like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll just use it as my thing.
Okay,
But yeah,
okay.
it's so funny. A lot of people don't know, like they can see just from like some videos we posted, and like sometimes our country accent will slip out if we're around family. But a lot of times they're like, wait, you grew up like redneck? That's weird. Like I would not have expected that. Like, yeah.
So we can expect the banjo solo with a bit of distortion coming up.
Yeah, something. We get something like that, right?
I think we should try it.
Are you so with all, obviously, you know, recording and writing a whole lot of music for Magdalene Rose? Do you dip back into any of the Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh songs still in the live show, or are they kind of, you know, pretty rare these days?
They've been more rare recently. When we first started, we definitely had them incorporated in like the first 1 or 2 tours that I did, I only had Shark Spray. So it's like, this is GFM featuring Shark Spray right now. Like as we started to have more material, we were able to kind of fill out the set list more. But recently, because we've had so many new songs and our set's a little bit shorter since we are a newer thing, the GFM songs have been getting less and less common, which is a little bittersweet because I'm excited to be playing new music, but it's like, oh, that era is kind of over.
Well, hey, I mean, they're always there, right? Like you can always go, you know, break out like a special one that you maybe haven't played in a while, and you can throw that in there. It's always nice to have, as long as as long as your members keep up with the material and, you know, make sure
like, hey, y'all need to practice this in case one day I get a wild hair and just want to break out in this song. Yeah,
exactly, right? Like you might be there and you just, because sometimes it's fun to do that, you know, have that that spontaneity in the live set for you, because, you know, if you're out there on tour playing the same run of songs every night, it can sometimes get a little bit tedious. But, you know, so being able to break out into something different now and then is you know, fun, is you know, would be very fun, I'm sure. Is there, I mean, and I have to imagine with CJ out there now doing her own thing, like I have to imagine at some point there's going to be something where you guys end up on the same bill, and surely if that happens, there has to be like
something's gotta happen.
Feature, like she's got to jump up and do, you know, you can like revisit you know, one of the old GFM ones.
You could do a full sneaky and re-release the songs and do features on each other's things, and that way you double the amount of content.
Goodness, double it.
Different bands now. They're different bands now, so you could just do
Maggie's version.
Maggie's version.
And it's featuring on the album. We've always said metal bands, and it's starting to change now. Collabs is where it's at. Collabs. If you want to branch out, rappers do it all the time. It's how you gain more fans. If you like a band and you want to try and get some of their fans, try and work with them.
And that's what we did with Under Oath on one of our songs, and I was like, the fact that they said yes, I was like freaking out. So I was like, oh my. So that was the only collab we've done so far, but I definitely want to do more. Yeah.
It's I mean, and that's a great song that turned out really, really well. And
Thank you.
I definitely think, like we said, like collaborations is, you know, I don't know why it's not as common in metal as it was. I mean, even if you look back, like I feel like it used to be more common through, you know, like the sort of late 90s into the early 2000s. There was a lot of it, especially in like hardcore, right? Like, because hardcore bands, but that's part of the culture. Like at hardcore shows, people are constantly like getting up on stage during each other's sets and, you know, jumping up to do that. So I guess like there was a lot more of that sort of stuff happening in that scene. But, you know, even if you look at,
it boils down to recording quality. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because I think the exact same thing. How hard is it if you're a band and you really like a singer from another band? I mean, you hear it all the time in the rap thing. It's like, oh, he just rang me up and asked for 4 bars. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, send him and just go, man, do a verse for me on this. I love your work. Just do a verse for me on this.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's a feature.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, and the funny thing is these days it's a lot easier for that to happen because so many people have some degree of basic recording setup that they're able to access, right?
Yeah. And like even with the Under Oath collab, he was on tour with Under Oath, and Spencer Chamberlain was on tour with Under Oath, and I was on tour on a separate tour. And he literally had like just took one of the stage mics, plugged it into his computer, recorded a thing, and sent it to us through Dropbox. And it's like it's so easy nowadays that people can just literally just do something real quick.
Yeah, bingo. And it's great that the way things kind of turn out like that. And like I said, that it's the access to the barrier to entry on that stuff and the access to that stuff is just so much more prevalent now. So hopefully we see it. Hopefully we see more of it. Like and look, I can't wait to see what else you got coming up with the album and everything. I was excited to talk to you when we first spoke because it was, I think, our first international interview, like first time we'd ever interviewed a band, anyone that was not from Australia, not from doing that stuff. And to see what just the absolute like rocket ship that your career has been on for that stuff. Oh, probably shouldn't have done that gesture actually. But no one screen grab that. No one screen grab that, please. It wasn't what it looked like, okay? But the way that you've been, you're constantly doing stuff, you're constantly working on things, you've always got something coming up. And it's been so exciting to like follow along with that and see how that's progressed because, it's hard enough for anyone to kind of make it in the business, and I keep referring back to what we talked about last time, right? Like, you, especially being in a band of, at the time, with Gold, Frankincense and Myrrh, of being a band of all young women, especially like very, very young at times. Yeah. The challenge to be taken seriously is possibly, I'm not trying to compare anything, but likely more something that you've faced than a lot of other people may have. And to see how you've just been able to continue on and go take it higher and higher every time. It's just been like, it makes me happy because, I'm 38, I'm getting on, all that stuff, and seeing artists like yourself having the success that you're having, able to break down barriers, able to just get out there and do it. It's like, I'm stoked because I know there's going to be tons of good metal to come from artists like yourself and a lot of other artists that are coming up now. So, it makes me happy because I'm always after new stuff, and knowing that that's going to continue on for, the next, 10, 20 years at the very least, because I see what's coming in the pipeline now from artists like yourself, from a lot of the local artists here in Australia as well. It's in good hands, right?
Yeah.
And that makes me really, really happy.
Anyone that's saying it's not, you're not paying attention.
Exactly.
That's the one we can't stress enough. The music these days, like, just stop listening to the radio and go for a bit of a search.
Yeah,
There's
great stuff out there. There really is. Okay, so a question before we wrap this up there, a quick question that we've been trying to answer over the last several months on the podcast.
I think this will be our first international person to weigh in on this.
Yep, I think so. We've been doing a little bit of a survey to get some sort of consensus, right? Now, there is, everyone kind of knows that the big four of thrash metal, like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, cool, that's a thing. We have been trying to get some degree of consensus on the big four bands from the nu metal era. And so what we're talking about is not necessarily nu metal bands, okay, but bands that really came to prominence in that period through, the back half of the 90s into the early 2000s, that at the time would have been lumped into the nu metal category because there's such an explosion. I know they're not all called nu metal now, but bands from that era to really come up. So if we could get your big four from that period.
I feel like definitely, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. If I just completely take these bands the wrong way. But
no, it's your decision. Like, there's no wrong answer with it.
like I feel like Linkin Park was definitely one.
Mhm.
And like on the completely opposite end, I feel like Limp Bizkit had a little bit of that where they were like, maybe they weren't hardcore new metal, but like they were so popular and like introduced people to it a little bit.
We are under the opinion that they are one of the pioneers.
I think so.
Yeah.
Who else? I'm having to like dig back into the music that I listened to my dad with because some of this was before my time.
Oh, that hurts. Ow. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry. Let me just try and brush that one off.
I'm trying to think who else would be considered new metal.
Because and it's interesting to see because there's some bands that are kind of a lot of people are coming in with the same sort of 2 or 3 bands, and then there's one one really outside pick that we're finding a lot of people have. So
which I do notice happens with the big 4 of thrash as well.
Yeah.
So wait, is Korn technically a new metal band or not really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they started earlier in the 90s, but they really kind of blew up in that time period, I think.
So I feel like that one's definitely got to be in there too.
To me, they are the gods of new metal. They are the
okay. Yeah, I was like, oh wait, that's a really big band. That was probably one of them. And then I don't know.
Still big to be.
What's another? Like, I need one more.
Yeah, and it's a bit tough.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when it's like, okay, yeah, you think you got like 2 or 3, and it's like, oh, who would the last one be? Like,
Yeah, and this is the beautiful part because everyone kind of gets those first, like I said, first 2 or 3. It's like get them out real easy, and then the last one is the struggle.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. If you like, I can run you through some of the other names that have been brought up.
Yeah, maybe give me some more ideas.
So this is no particular order on anything, but some of the other bands that have been mentioned, we've got like people have talked about like POD, Marilyn Manson, Spineshank, Seven Dust, Rage Against the Machine, Cold Chamber, Deftones, System of a Down, Slipknot. There's some of the other bands that have all been mentioned from who really kind of blew up during that era. They may have started a little bit before, but really came to prominence on like. But here's the thing that I think is also gonna be a bit different because we in Australia would have got they would have come to prominence in Australia probably a little bit later than they did in the US,
that's
right?
True.
Like so
that's true.
That's the other thing that is possibly throwing a challenge up there because like we've kind of found out about some of these bands not until their second or third albums. Really, because not unless you were like hardcore into it and following everything that was going on.
Most people did that off a backtrack anyway. They were never that into it at the beginning. They waited until they hit that first big album and then they backtracked and became super fans.
Yeah. Yeah, I was leaning towards Rage Against the Machine earlier before you had read them off, but I was like, I don't know if that's like right era or if they technically are right music because I didn't listen to a ton of Rage Against the Machine, but I feel like it definitely had a little bit of that where it's like the influence where it's like has the bit of rap, has the bit of like it's not just metal, it's like the stuff that qualifies new metal. But I was like, I haven't listened to them a ton.
We can put them down if you want. We can put them down.
We'll put them down.
There you go. Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Korn, Rage Against the Machine. There you go. There's some good choices there. Some very good choices. Speaking of Linkin Park,
yes, you were just about to say it. I mean, it's a hot topic at the moment. I can't believe you touched on it.
Have you checked out the new song? What's your thoughts on on that? How are you digging that? Or
yeah, I watched the live stream whenever they did like the show and everything, and like I love Linkin Park, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to replace Chester. But I think it's great the way that they are carrying this on, and I don't think anybody would have wanted that to just end, because it was such a big like band, but also like the fan base behind it. It was a very big community. And I love that they are bringing in like a female vocalist, and it helps a little bit with like, I think if they brought another guy to sing, it would always be that, well, he's not Chester. And so the fact that it's a girl, it's kind of a restart. And, you know, her voice can sound very similar, but at the same time, she has her own kind of thing to it. And I think it's just really good for the community, because they were such a big thing, and rock is at a point where I feel like it's definitely about to boil back up. And a lot of people are saying that they are expecting it to be back in like the top 40 by like end of next year, which is so cool to think about. And like just watching them like kind of come back and be so excited. Like everybody in the band looked so thrilled to be back on stage and like singing the songs again, performing the songs again. And especially with Mike, like I just was watching Mike a lot, and you can see it in his face, like how excited he was, but also like how big it was for him because of how close he was, being in a band with somebody like that who goes out that way is like, you can't like begin to try and describe it if you haven't experienced it. And so that was definitely like a monumental moment for him to be able to perform those songs again. And it won't ever be the same, but I don't think he wants it to be the same. I think he wants it to be something new. And for it to be hitting at like such a pivotal moment for rock music, I think is going to be awesome, because if Linkin Park was big back then, like how big are they going to be now that there's so much more social media to like help push it. And I just think it's awesome for women in music too, to be invited into such a big band and a big moment. It was just really inspirational with that type of thing. And I know there's a little bit of controversy about like her background and stuff. So I haven't looked.
What's going on there?
There's a couple of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it a ton. So I don't like, I can't really speak on it like knowledgeably, because I don't know a ton about it, but I know there's some people that.
But at least you can say that.
Like that.
At least you can say that. I think there's a lot of stuff that too many people, and I've made that mistake in the past as well. I can fully admit that. But I think there is too many people that are willing to jump in and take, a couple of nuggets of information without looking at any other context or anything else around it, and throw someone under the bus who, like, we're not going to go into the specifics around and the details around stuff on here, because there's way too much to unpack.
Here's what I've done now. I've come to the conclusion now, unless it's an artist that I physically have, or that we physically have on the podcast or anything like that, I don't care. I don't want to know. Unless you've hurt like a little kid or done something like that, I don't want to know. I am separating the art from the artist. I am done.
Yeah.
I am done.
And look, I know it's a long shot, but if Linkin Park wanted to come on and talk, no.
Come on the podcast right now.
But yeah, no, I mean, I was, I was, I heard the song and immediately I'm like,
I love it.
This feels like an evolution of the band. It feels like, and I think you're absolutely right. Like if even not getting a man in, they've had a lot of flack of like, you can't replace Chester. And it's like, they're not trying to. They've never said they want to replace Chester. They've waited a long time, and they've obviously thought about it a lot and gone through a lot. And realistically, whether the band should continue as Linkin Park or as a different thing, that's up to the band and Chester's family to decide. And that's the decision that they've made. That's. And I think it's a great new direction. I'm excited to see what they can do.
I was spun out. People were cracking on about getting the singer from the cover band, from the number one Linkin Park Experience or whatever it is. Hybrid, is it Hybrid Theory? I think they're called. I'm like, that is disgusting.
Yeah, like you don't want an impersonator. An impersonator would be trying to replace him.
That is wrong on so many levels. If you want to hear the songs being performed in that vein by someone like that, go to the fucking cover show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse the language. I'm sorry. It's the first time I've actually sweat throughout this whole thing. I go like a sailor. Trying to tone down. Regardless, that would to me would be more disrespectful. Admittedly, the new song is a cracker. I think Nerves maybe got the better on some of the Linkin Park material
on the live stage.
I feel like she was maybe trying a bit too hard to channel Chester. Be yourself, make the songs your own. Do you know what I mean? And that's no part on her. She has to do justice to the material. Like it is like, and at the end of the day, those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Like at the end of the day, the band is giving you the responsibility now. It's not your show to run, but it's your person to be, and it's your songs to do now.
Yeah.
You know, and to actually think that you could actually get someone in, like that's why I was saying, like, and we've said this in other podcasts before, I thought the idea would have been that they never write any new material. They organise something like the equivalent of Knotfest, and they only pick bands that they like, and they get bands that they get the singers from each band to come in and perform songs with them on the headline spot. That's what I thought they would have done. I'm happy with this new thing. Dig the new singer. Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll let you get back to resting and recovering and all of that business, because I know touring is tiring work. But for those that maybe didn't catch the last one, where can people keep up to date with what you're doing? We will have links, but for the audio people, like, where can people follow what you're doing?
Yeah, everything on social media matches, because I want it to be easy to find on whatever platform. So everything is official Magdalene Rose. The website's that, and all the social media is Magdalene Rose. And everything is linked everywhere too, because I know if I try to go find something, I'm going to want to be able to get it as easy as possible. So all the social medias are linked together. And, I'm active on everything. I run them all. So if you've got any questions, you can message me. And it's super, super easy to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us again. It's been amazing to catch up and see how well everything's been going for you. And can't wait for that album. I'm guessing hopefully sometime next year. And
fingers crossed.
Let's get an Aussie tour happening. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna do it.
Awesome. Well, we'll thank you so much, and we'll catch everybody next time. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are amazing.
Peace.
Thank you very much for watching today's video. We really hope you had a good time with us. If you did, consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons down there, and ring that bell so you get notified of all the videos we've got coming out. And we do also have a Patreon. If you're interested, you can head on over there. You can get all the videos early and ad-free. So, a little bit of a benefit. It's only a couple of bucks a month. But if not, thank you very much for watching anyway, and we'll catch you guys next time.